upon which our congregations in Woodbury and Meriden make their home was not empty wilderness when Europeans first arrived in Connecticut. We begin each of our services acknowledging this fact as a step on the road to justice. There are 5 recognized indigenous tribal nations in Connecticut: the Mashantucket Pequot, the Mohegan, the Eastern Pequot, the Golden Hill Pawcatucket, and the Shagatoke. The Mattatuck Unitarian Universalist Society and the U Church in Meriden acknowledge that our congregations occupy the ancestral, traditional, and contemporary lands of these nations. In offering this land acknowledgement, we commit to learning more about these hosts and neighbors, and we affirm indigenous sovereignty, history, and experience. Good morning. I'm the Reverend Tony Lorenzen, the minister with the Mattatuck Unitarian Universalist Society and the Unitarian Universalist Church in Meriden. And we all welcome you to this Sunday morning service as we begin a month-long exploration on the theme of beloved community for this Black History Month. Before we light our chalice and get going this morning, I just want to pass on some sad news. I'm sure most of the members of the Meriden congregation are aware at this point that a beloved member of our congregation, Barbara Klein, died last Wednesday, February 3rd. It's a big loss, of course, for her family. It's a big loss for our congregation. A lot of us are heavy-hearted at Barbara's passing this week. And we just wanted to take a minute to remember Barbara and her contributions to the worship team and her family's involvement at the church before we got started. Her family, her husband Paul, are especially grateful to everybody who's been making meals. We're grateful to Angie Swanger, who's been helping with looking through funeral arrangements. We're grateful to Randy Heath, who's gotten someone to do the snow removal for them during this week. And everybody is really pitching in and lending support to the family, and we continue to hold Paul and Rhiannon and Richard in our hearts. And we'll have a special prayer for Barbara in this morning's service when we get to the candles, the joys and concerns, and the prayers. As of right now, there are no funeral arrangements. As soon as we have details on that, we will pass them along to you. So, as we begin this morning, remember that Barbara is still with us in spirit, and as we light the chalice, we think that her spirit is alive in that flame, the way that flame represents all of us, whether we are here physically or not.
With humility and courage born of our history, we are called as Unitarian Universalists to build the beloved community where all souls are welcome as blessings and the human family lives whole and reconciled. With this vision in our hearts and minds, we light our chalice.
Where we bind up the broken, we'll build a land where the captives go free, where the oil of gladness dissolves all mourning. We'll build a promised land that can be. Come, build a land where sisters and brothers, anointed by God, may then create peace, where justice shall roll down like waters, and peace like an ever-flowing stream. We'll build a land where we bring the good tidings to all the afflicted and all those who mourn, and we'll give them garlands instead of Oh, we'll build a land where peace is born. Come, build a land where sisters and brothers, anointed by God, may then create peace, where justice shall flow down like waters, and peace like an ever-flowing stream. We'll build a land building up ancient cities, raising up devastations from old, restoring rains of generations. Oh, we'll build a land of people so bold. Come, build a land where sisters and brothers, anointed by God, then create peace, where justice shall roll down like waters, and peace like an ever-flowing stream. Come, build a land where the mantles of praises resound from spirits once faint and once weak, where the oaks of righteousness stand her people. Oh, come, build a land, my people we seek. Come, build a land where sisters and brothers, anointed by God, then create peace, where justice shall roll down like waters, and praise like an ever-flowing stream.
Woodpecker loved looking for bugs to eat in the trees. But even more than the tasty little bugs, Woodpecker loved the sound of the trees. She loved how every tree made a different sound. She loved the resonance and the rhythm. One day, when she was looking for food and enjoying the sound of the trees, she heard a sound she had never heard before. It sounded like a frog singing. Doom, doom, doom. Doom, doom, doom. Da-doom, doom, doom, doom. Doom, doom. Who are you? She called out. Hearing your song together with my rhythm, that makes all the difference. Well, my name is Frog, and I love to sing to myself. So when I heard you making that sound, I just couldn't help but sing along. After that, they got together every week to make their music together. One time when they were playing, they heard a cricket in the grass, adding some more rhythm. And then as they continued to gather, other animals joined in. There were elephants that heard them and came over and stomped along on the ground in rhythm with the other animals. There was a squirrel that found some seed pods in the trees. And there were birds that loved to sing their favorite songs in harmony together. They noticed that their forest band sounded the best when they all did something different so that everyone could be heard. They noticed that each animal made the prettiest sounds when they listened to all the other animals very carefully. Now one time, the forest band was playing together, and a very loud chimpanzee showed up and began playing on a hollow log. The chimpanzee made so much noise that no one could even hear themselves. And the chimpanzee just played as many notes as possible, as fast as possible. Everyone else stopped playing and just looked at the chimpanzee, who said, "Well, I love playing music with you all." Needless to say, rehearsal ended early that day. All the other animals slithered and swam and flew and trotted away, until it was just chimpanzee and woodpecker together. The woodpecker decided that she needed to talk with chimpanzee. "Music isn't just about playing loudly," she said. "It's about listening to the other animals around you. You can't make music if you don't listen to the sounds the other animals are making. Music is about rest and silence just as much as it's about noise and vibration. We need both." Together, woodpecker and chimpanzee practiced making some sounds and then leaving some silence, playing some notes and then leaving some rest. And wouldn't you know that even chimpanzee thought it sounded better that way? Finding the way our sound fits into the whole, finding what unique sound is ours to add, makes all the difference. Our brains and our bodies, for that matter, are designed for this kind of balance. To speak up and then to listen. To move and then to rest. To play our part and then leave space for other voices.
Hey everybody, come sing a song with me. Here's our note. La. Come sing a song with me. Come sing a song with me. Come sing a song with me, that I might know you're mine. And I'll bring you home when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the winter time. Come dream a dream with me. Come dream a dream with me. Come dream a dream with me, that I might know you're mine. And I'll bring you home when hope is hard to find. And I'll sing a song of love and a rose in the winter time. Come walk in rain with me. Come walk in rain with me. Come walk in rain with me, that I might know you're mine. And I'll bring you home when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the winter time. Come share a rose with me. Come share a rose with me. Come share a rose with me, that I might know you're mine. And I'll bring you home when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the winter time. A rose in the winter time.
From 1992 until I moved to Wallingford in 2019, I would run by the Unitarian Universalist Church of Meriden. It was only about a mile from my house. And if you do the math, that's 27 years. How time does fly. I became a Catholic when my daughter was in 3rd grade. She wanted to be Catholic just like her friends. So we got our first communion together in 1994 at St. Rose Church in Meriden. Within a few months, I became a Eucharistic minister. It was a religious community, however, that didn't feel very welcoming. I left in 2002. I felt out of place. Meanwhile, during all that time, I was running by the UU Church in Meriden almost every day. I didn't go to any church for the next few years. Then in 2012, I facilitated a drum circle in the Spiral Garden, thanks to Diane Samazik. During the drumming, Reverend Jan Carlson Bull came out and took pictures. I was so impressed. It took another year of running by every day to finally decide to try a service. I went to the Easter service in 2013, and part of the service was a drumming circle. They let me play a couple of their drums afterwards. I was blown away. What a welcoming community. I became a member in November and a worship associate less than 6 months later. And now, here I am. Who'd have thunk it? So what comprises a religious community? The truth is, we are not meant to walk our path alone. We are not meant to be fiercely independent explorers, forging our own destinies. We are meant to be part of a movement toward becoming a community of faithful people who share similar beliefs. Sacred texts, such as the Bible, are meant to be shared in community. Religious communities are, hopefully, safe places where members can show vulnerability and share together. Our candles of community, where we share our joys and sorrows, is a wonderful example of having a safe place in which to give and receive support. The following poem by Starhawk speaks to the power of loving community. We are all longing to go home to some place we have never been, a place half remembered and half envisioned. We can only catch glimpses of it from time to time. Community. Somewhere there are people to whom we can speak with passion without having the words catch in our throats. Somewhere a circle of hands will open to receive us. Eyes will light up as we enter. Voices will celebrate with us whenever we come into our own power. Community means strength that joins our strength to do the work that needs to be done. Arms to hold us when we falter. A circle of healing. A circle of friends. Someplace where we can be free. The title of that poem is Community Means Strength. Since we are human, communities are not loving 24/7, 365. Issues come up, conflicts arise, relationships are tested. It is not possible to eradicate differences. If we have expectations of being in a perfect community, we will be disappointed. If we have behavioral expectations of others, we will be disappointed. To stay in community with difficult, offensive people, it's beneficial to have hope that they will change and grow, but not to expect them to change. We must have generosity of spirit, an open heart toward those who test us. Henry Nouwen, the Catholic teacher, activist, and pastor, once said, and I quote, "Community is the place where the person you least want to live with always lives. That person is always in your community somewhere. In the eyes of others, You might be that person, end quote. Think about that. I could be that person? No way. Well, seriously, I believe I have been that person in the past. But I contend that it's worth the effort to work effectively with all kinds of people. Just as Woodpecker in the story worked with chimpanzee to help chimpanzee listen to the other animals, it behooves us to listen to each other with open hearts. We as UUs call this covenant. When we honor our covenant to each other, it makes a huge difference. The following story illustrates this. This is called The Covenant Mouse by Julie Lambert. In a New England church, in the back of the hall, lived a small lady mouse, not tall, not at all. And this small lady mouse liked to listen each week when the pews were all full and the people would speak. And they made special promises, all in a bunch, about how they loved each other. Then they'd all go to lunch. And sometimes she noticed these promises made in the morning with loud, happy voices would fade. And late in the day, when the meetings would start, their differences seemed to push people apart. The same ones who'd promised at 10:34, dwell together in peace, were peaceful no more. And those who had said they'd seek knowledge and freedom weren't seeking at all, and their books didn't read them. And worse, there were whispers about who believed and about those who didn't, and who was deceived. So when they had made all those promises grand, and afterwards hugged and shaken each hand, what they'd meant, as far as the church mouse could see, was that you can learn freely to be just like me. This worried the small lady mouse in the hall. She knew that that's not what they had promised at all. They repeated those lines and they left them right there, with the hymnals tucked into the back of their chair. She knew promises remained in your heart and your head, each minute, each hour, from dawn until bed. And covenants, these were the biggest of all, the most sacred promises made in the hall. So she made up a plan and she started to draw little notes to remind every person who saw that you've made a covenant. You ought to do what you promised because somebody's looking at you. A child found the first one. The note was down low, and he handed it up to his mother like so. And she happened to be in the midst of a long complaint about someone who'd done something wrong. But she looked at the note and remembered the part about dwelling in peace, and it stuck in her heart. And from that day forward, the children kept finding the notes that the mouse used to do her reminding that you've made a covenant, you ought to do what you promised because somebody's looking at you. And the mouse meant, of course, that hers were the eyes that were watching. But what a surprise. The grown-ups all thought that the children were making the notes pointing out which ones they were breaking. And the children, they thought that the grown-ups must be the ones who were looking, the ones who would see. And nobody guessed that a small lady mouse was the voice of their covenants there in their house. She still leaves her notes, but not every week, because the folks in the church now think when they speak, and think how each action and facial expression affects those around them and makes an impression. And now when the folks say each covenant line, they know that it means every day, every time. And they add in their heads and remember it too, I must keep in mind what I promised to do. So if you find a note and it helps you recall that, thank that small lady mouse in the back of the hall. The work that we do to be in beloved community has far-reaching effects, more than we are aware of. Yes, we are endeavoring to build a better world, but more importantly, we are building up each other's faith. We are struggling with the things that divide us and the doubt and anxiety within us. We need to know how deep in her hearts that we can not only create it, but that we can depend on it.
For this meditation, I invite you to get seated in a quiet place if you can. We will be using a chant that is put to a tune. So first, let's take some deep balloon breaths, filling your lower abdomen with air like a balloon, and exhaling anything that no longer serves you, any stress, any pressures from the week, just let it all go. Breathing in deeply, focusing on the here and now. Breathing out, releasing what no longer serves you. Feeling your shoulders fall away from your ears. Feeling all the muscles in your body just relax. Take a couple of more deep breaths. See myself in joy and love. I know myself, I am enough. I see myself in joy and love. I know myself, I am enough. I see myself in joy and love. I know myself, I am enough. I see myself in joy and love. I know myself, I am enough. I see myself in joy and love. I know myself, I am enough. I see myself in joy and love. I know myself, I am enough. I see myself in joy and love. I know myself, I am enough. I see myself myself in joy and love. I know myself, I am enough. I see myself in joy and love. I know myself, I am enough. I see myself in joy and love. I know myself, I am enough. I see myself in joy and love. I know myself, I am enough. And when you are ready, you may open your eyes and wiggle your fingers and toes.
We light birthday candles this week for Nancy Burton, February 3rd, Audrey Lorenzen, my mom, February 4th, and Collie Harris, February 6th. We light candles of prayer and concern this week for Barbara Klein and her family, her husband Paul, son Richard, daughter Rhiannon, and all their family. We hold them most tenderly in our hearts this week. We light candles also for Margaret Morley's sister, who was recently diagnosed with COVID, Jack Lander's sister Joanne, who was hospitalized with COVID, Mary Lander's mom, who had a heart attack recently, Randy Heath, who will be having neck surgery in just over a week, Dawn Dell, who had back surgery this week, and all those struggling with disease and illness, both visible and invisible, and all those lost in the world of conspiracy theories, lies, and alternate realities. May everyone who needs comfort and support find it. Amen. This morning, we offer a special prayer in memory of Barbara Klein. Mother Goddess, Father God, we release ourselves from those who have left this plane and let them walk the blessed gardens of Summerland. As they enter a dream from which rebirth will arise, we give thanks for the time we've spent together and invoke their protective light to guide us. We light a candle to bless this day with the splendor of fire, the freedom of wind, the stability of earth, and the depth of the sea. Sun and moon, grant us rebirth, give us life, death, and rest, for we shall meet again once our souls leave this world. Guide us through the night and through the sunlit days. Merry part and merry meet, in soul and in heart, blessed be.
Is our life, we sing our thanks and praise. For all life is a gift which we are called to use to build the common good and make our own days glad. For needs which others serve, for services we give, for work and its rewards, for hours of rest and love, we come with praise and thanks for all that is our life. For sorrow we must bear, for failure's pain and loss, for each new thing we learn, for fearful hours that pass, we come with praise and thanks for all that is our life.
Our service may be drawing to a close, but there's always coffee hour. Please pour a cup of your favorite beverage and zoom on in. Join us for coffee at go.uucentralct.org/coffee. That's go.uucentralct.org/coffee. We'll see you in a few minutes.
Dear ones, we extinguish our chalice flame. Our service has come to an end. May its flame remind us of our covenant with one another. May it help us be in beloved community, working with each other in love and respect. May it help us be a much needed healing force to bring people together to heal the rift. May it be so. See you next week.